Hey there and welcome over here today. As you can tell, I'm going to be showing you a bunch of different sheet pan dinner ideas. I personally love making sheet pan dinners because you could add in veggies, proteins, you could add in a bunch of stuff to your sheet pan, toss it in the oven, and dinner is served. It's also very low mess, so you don't have to dirty up a bunch of different bowls. So that's nice if you are busy or starting to learn how to cook. But if you are new here, I'd love to have you, so go ahead and subscribe down below the video. But let's get to cooking. To get us started off, we're going to be making some salmon and veggies. I am very particular about my salmon, so I think you would really like this recipe. It's one of my favorite salmon recipes of all time. But to my sheet pan, I lined it with some aluminum foil, sprayed it with nonstick spray, and then I added my 3 salmon fillets. Next, we're going to be adding our veggies. I have a 1.5 cups of some frozen green beans that I let defrost, and then a 1.5 cups of some carrots that were also frozen that I let defrost. I just laid them right on my sheet pan, and now I'm just adding about 5 cloves of garlic to our salmon, and I'm going to rub the garlic into the salmon. I'm just going to set our sheet pan aside, and we're going to begin to work on the garlic butter sauce. So in this little bowl, I have 6 tablespoons of butter that I melted, and I'm just adding a tablespoon of brown sugar to that, a 1/2 teaspoon of some oregano, a 1/2 teaspoon of thyme, and a 1/2 teaspoon of some rosemary, and I'm just going to mix this little mixture together to combine. Back over to our sheet pan, I'm just going to drizzle the butter mixture all over everything, and then I'm going to kind of work it in with my hands just so it gets pretty evenly distributed. If you don't like to mix things with your hands, you could just mix this in a large bowl, but I did want to cut down on dishes on that night just because having extra dishes is just extra work, so I just mixed everything together with my hands. The last couple things I'm going to do before I stick this in the oven is I'm just squeezing a 1/2 lemon right on top of the veggies and the salmon, and then sprinkling it with a little bit of salt and pepper. Then this is going into a preheated oven to 400 degrees for about 15 to 25 minutes, or until it reaches the internal temperature of 145 degrees. Here is my plate of food. I just served our veggies and salmon with some tartar sauce. This would also go great with a side of rice, but I didn't have much time on that night, so this is how I served it. This is a phenomenal fish recipe. It is so good, so I really do recommend you trying this. Now we're making some steak and potatoes. So to begin, I'm going to start with our veggies first. So I'm just chopping up my potatoes into smaller pieces. You could use Yukon Gold potatoes, you could use red potatoes, but I chose to use these gemstone potatoes. I really like these potatoes. I got them from Walmart. I don't know if they sell in every state, but I found them here in Utah. Anyways, I'm just chopping them up into smaller pieces, and you see back there, I already chopped my baby carrots up into smaller pieces as well, just so they cook a little bit quicker. Over here to my sheet pan lined with aluminum foil. You'll see I used aluminum foil on all of these sheet pan recipes just for some easy cleanup in the end. I could just peel the aluminum foil off, and then I don't have to really clean the sheet pan too much. But anyways, I added our veggies right on top there, sprinkled it with about a tablespoon of olive oil. Now I'm just adding some fresh minced garlic, about a tablespoon of that as well. And now I'm just sprinkling a little bit of some Italian seasoning, garlic powder, salt, and pepper on top. I don't have exact measurements for those, but just use however much you think you'd enjoy. Now we want all of that olive oil all over the veggies and the seasoning, so I'm just mixing it all together with my hands again. And then this is going to bake in the oven on 375 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes, or until these veggies are soft. Now that our veggies are out of the oven, I'm going to kind of scoot them to the side to make room for our 2 top sirloin steaks. I just added our steaks right on there, and I seasoned it with a little bit of some salt and pepper on each side of these steaks. And I'm going to stick this into the oven under the broiler for about 3 to 5 minutes on each side. You do want to continue to check this every minute or so because these veggies will burn pretty quickly. So at the halfway mark through cooking these steaks, I did have to remove the veggies from the pan to a separate plate just because I didn't want my veggies burnt. So like I said, just keep an eye on these veggies, and if you want your steaks more well done, just stick them in the oven for longer, for about 6 minutes on each side, but like I said, keep an eye on it. Once your steaks are almost out of the oven through cooking, you're going to want to work on your butter garlic. So in this little bowl, I have 1/4 cup of softened butter. I just added in a couple cloves of garlic to that, along with some Italian seasoning, some garlic powder, and some fresh chopped parsley. I'm just going to stir all of this together. Now that our steaks are completely cooked through, I just placed them on my wooden cutting board, and I'm just adding our garlic butter right on top just like this, and then I'm going to kind of tent it with some aluminum foil. That just means place a little bit of some aluminum foil on top, and I'm going to let these steaks rest there just like this for about 5 minutes. This is going to make the steaks pretty tender. So here they are about 5 minutes later, and I'm just going to cut these steaks up. And here's the end result. These steaks came out so delicious. That garlic butter mixture was spot on. It gave these steaks so much flavor, and those veggies along the side were perfect. Everybody loves some chicken fajitas, so now that's what we're making. It's just some chicken fajitas. So to begin, I'm just dicing up 1/2 of a red bell pepper, 1/2 of a yellow bell pepper, and 1/2 of a red onion into smaller pieces. You could add more bell peppers, more onion if you want to, but my family's pretty small right now. It's just my husband, myself, and my 1.5-year-old. So I just cut up what I needed. Over here to my sheet pan, I have my almost a pound of chicken breast that I just sliced up into smaller strips, along with our cut up veggies. I just added 1.5 tablespoons of some olive oil, along with some salt and pepper on top. And now we're going to be adding the rest of our seasonings. I just sprinkled a little bit of each of these seasonings on. If you do want the proper measurements, I do have it linked down below in my description box. But like I said, I just sprinkled a little bit of smoked paprika, ground cumin, onion powder, garlic powder, and chili powder on top. If you do want it a little bit spicy, you could add some cayenne pepper, but I didn't want to make it too spicy just because my daughter, like I said, she's only 1.5, so she's still trying to explore foods. But I just mixed this all together with my hands. You could mix it in a bowl, but I didn't want to make extra dishes. This just baked in my oven on 425 degrees for about 20 minutes or until that chicken was completely cooked. But here are our fajitas. I just served mine with some cheese, sour cream, and lime. I forgot how much I love fajitas. I really need to make them more often. We loved this meal. Now we're making some sausage with roasted vegetables. This one's really good, and it also impressed me with how much flavor it had. But to begin, I'm just going to start to chop up our veggies. I just have one medium-sized sweet potato. I'm chopping up into pretty small pieces along with our broccoli and cauliflower. You could really use any type of veggies you want for this dish, but I found these are my favorite vegetables for this dinner. Now I'm going to be chopping up our smoked sausage. You could use any type of smoked sausage you guys like. You could use chicken, you could use beef, any type of smoked sausage would really work for this recipe, but you just see me here chopping it up into small pieces. Now over to my sheet pan, I just plopped everything onto it. It really can't get any easier than this. Now I'm just drizzling about 2 tablespoons of some olive oil right on top. For our seasonings, I'm just adding a little bit of some garlic powder along with rosemary and some salt and pepper. I added about a half a teaspoon of the garlic powder and rosemary. Then I'm just going to mix this all together and plop it in my preheated oven to 425 degrees for about 25 minutes. This might not look like much and it might be super easy to make, but let me tell you, flavor explosion. This tasted so good. Even my little daughter liked this one. I really think you should give this one a shot. Now we're making a Italian chicken and potato dish. This is actually what this recipe is called. I love the name of it, but on my sheet pan right here, I have a pound of chicken that I cubed into smaller pieces, along with 2 medium-sized russet potatoes that I peeled and also chopped into smaller pieces, and a little bit of some broccoli and cauliflower just that I had left over. Now I just drizzled 2 tablespoons of some olive oil on top and added 1 packet of this dry Italian seasoning dressing mix, and I'm going to mix this all together with my hands just to eliminate dishes like I've said previously. Anyways, I'm going to bake this in the oven on 350 degrees, covered with aluminum foil for about 15 minutes, and then I took the foil off and baked it for an additional 25 minutes uncovered. This one was a winner chicken dinner. We really liked this recipe. I personally loved how simple it was to throw together, and it included veggies and protein. So I really liked this recipe and it had great flavor. And that is a wrap of this video. I hope you guys all enjoyed it and got some sheet pan meal inspiration. As always, if you are new here, I'd love to have you, so go ahead and subscribe down below the video. But I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.